Welcome to the More Than Fitness podcast.
And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Minisode number 142. And in this Minisode, we're going to talk about energy drinks. I'm going to do my best to give an objective, but also slightly biased view towards energy drinks. For those of you just listening, I slowly pointed to my Monster that I also have right next to me. I'm going to be a little bit biased. I do like energy drinks. However, I'm still going to try and relay the objective outlook on the current evidence and also my own thoughts and my own critiques to why energy drinks shouldn't just be something that you consume all day long or that they're good for everybody. Or that there aren't better ways to go about getting the same benefits of energy drinks without actually drinking energy drinks. And so before I get into that, real quick, if you enjoy this podcast, if you get a lot out of this video or out of this listen, I guess, on the audio version, please like, subscribe, rate and review on Apple Podcasts or whatever listening platform you use. And if you're watching on YouTube, please smash that like button. Hit the what is it? Smash the like button. That's what they say. Subscribe and hit the little bell to make sure you get notified whenever I put out a new video. Which brings me up to my next point. I think I'm going to switch to only doing minisodes once per week. So I'll have the longer interviews on Tuesdays and then the one minisode per week on Thursday. I've found that I just can't keep up with the volume of minisodes if I want to maintain a high quality. So what I'd rather do is put out fewer minisodes, but of higher quality. And that's all I'm going to say about that. And the last thing before we get into it is if you have a question for me that you want me to answer on one of these minisodes, there's a link in the description with a form. You can fill it out. You can remain anonymous, but ask your question on training, nutrition, life, whatever you want, energy drinks, and I will be happy to make a minisode on the topic if it's good. Okay, now, what is in an energy drink? And if you guys notice me on the video podcast looking down, I'm referring quite a bit to some of the information that is in an examine.com article, which is an independent analysis website that I get a lot of my information on nutrition, supplements, etc. They're a really trusted source, incredible company. So I'll link that in the description. But with most energy drinks, common ingredients in energy drinks are going to be things like caffeine, taurine, B vitamins, herbs, so like ginseng and guarana. I think that's how you say it. And then sugar is obviously the other ones if we're talking about full sugar energy drinks, which is an important distinction whenever we're talking about these because a lot of you listening are probably going to be health conscious people. So you're probably more in terms drinking the sugar-free or low sugar energy drinks. That said, with all of these ingredients, what I would say is, okay, let's just look at the effects of caffeine, and then let's look at the effects of B vitamins, and then taurine, right? You look at all these individual ingredients and check their safety and efficacy. However, we have to make sure that we look at all ingredients as a whole because ingredients tend to interact inside our bodies, right? And I think that honestly, the two main things that are going to actually make a difference is going to be caffeine and then the sugar, right? So with caffeine, the average for energy drinks is going to be about 150 milligrams per can. And then, if you're just thinking, okay, if caffeine is the main thing that's going to cause any type of harm to certain individuals or certain people, it's likely going to be from an overconsumption of caffeine. And I'll touch on a few of these real quick. I'm going to talk about, do energy drinks actually cause harm? Who's at risk? Are there benefits? And are they bad for you in the conclusion? And I'm going to do that very quickly. So if you're worried about the caffeine, I think that for the majority of people, and I'll give the exceptions in a minute, I typically tell people that below 400 milligrams of caffeine per day is likely going to be safe for most healthy individuals. And that's just something that you definitely need to consider, because if you don't track your caffeine and you're just constantly drinking these energy drinks, or maybe you're drinking an energy drink and then you're also drinking a pre-workout, and then you're also drinking a coffee in the morning, and then you're also having diet soda with dinner, right? That's going to be, that shit can really add up really quickly, right? You can get over 500 milligrams of caffeine very easily simply through, especially if you drink something like a Bang energy drink, which I think is 300 to 350 milligrams of caffeine per can. And then you also have pre-workouts, which most of them are likely around 200 milligrams of caffeine. And then diet soda, a typical can of Diet Coke, for example, is 47 milligrams. You guys know, fan of Diet Coke. I know the stats. I'm pretty sure it's 47 milligrams. And so what I'm saying is all of these things can add up. And if you pay no attention to caffeine, well, maybe now is definitely the time to start. And I think looking at your energy drink consumption may be a good place to start cutting back. So caffeine is going to be one. And then, of course, the sugar in these drinks, if you do consume sugar, or the full sugar energy drinks, well, that's just, it comes down to overeating and consuming too many calories. Like, this is just what sugar is good at. It allows us to eat a lot of calories really quickly. That's why drinking soda is just not good for you in general, because you can drink a 16 fluid ounce can of an energy drink and end up getting 50 to like 70 grams of carbs and also just like through sugar, right? And so that's not good, especially if you have fat loss or health goals, right? That's just stupid to do that. So the sugar is not inherently bad in and of itself. You don't self-combust whenever you drink or whenever you eat or consume sugar. That's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is that the sugar can tend to allow people to overeat more easily. So that's something to be mindful of. Okay, and those are the main things that are in energy drinks. And so now the next thing is going to be, do energy drinks cause harm? And this is from that Examine article. I'm gonna read this real quick just because it's got some stats in it. So, do energy drinks cause harm? They say they can. And between October 2010 and 2011, the U.S. National Poison Data System received 2.3 million calls. And of the 4,854, which is 0.2% of all those calls, related to energy drinks, nearly 2/3 were linked to contamination of unknown additives. The rest were through adverse effects on the cardiovascular system. And the most severe cases were alcohol plus energy drinks together. So my thoughts on this is that is definitely a very low number still. All things considered, 0.2% is still pretty low and comes with the added risks of consuming products like these. I would also be curious, since this was done in 2010, 2011, that was over 10 years ago. It's like, what safety procedures have been advanced and developed since then, right? It's like, if those numbers came through again, would it still be similar? I tried to look up this data. I tried to look for a few different things and sources, and I couldn't find anything. So if you do have something, let me know. However, contaminants, that's, it is what it is. This is part of the risk of consuming a drink. And I would say, if I could bet money on it, those probably came also from maybe the lesser known energy drinks, maybe the ones that are newer to the market that you've never heard of or something like that. Again, I'm not saying that that's true. I'm just saying it could be. I can see that being more likely than something like a Monster or these really, really big name companies that could probably have a lot to lose if they don't have their safety measures up very, very high. So that's something to consider. But unknown additives, it's something to consider. It's part of the risk trade-off. The other things, probably more likely, honestly, that I tend to worry about more. One is tooth enamel, right? So actually just drinking carbonated beverages, and especially if you also drink the ones with sugar in them, the tooth, your teeth are something that you need to consider, right? If you're drinking these all day long, and then you're also maybe eating a bunch of other acidic foods. So maybe if you eat a lot of fruit or something like that, and let's say you also have diet soda with dinner every night, and maybe you also have wine, I'm somewhat speaking to myself here, right? But this is why I am conscious of these, of whenever I drink these, and also whenever I brush my teeth. So if I have an energy drink, I make sure for sure that I either brush beforehand or that I swish around quite a bit of water in my mouth before brushing my teeth, because if it makes your tooth enamel more sensitive to erosion, also brushing is going to add another effect to that. Some of you may care about that, some of you may not, but that is part of it. I think another huge part, and the obvious part from the caffeine intake, is going to be poor sleep. I'm not going to ramble on about the effects of poor sleep. You guys know this. However, drinking energy drinks, it can definitely cause some disruption in your sleep patterns, and I think that's very well established. So making sure that you don't consume caffeine after probably like 5 p.m. or at least a minimum of 6 hours between when you consume the caffeine and then whenever you go to sleep. I think that's about, if I'm correct, I think that's about the half-life of caffeine. And so it takes quite a long time for caffeine to completely get out of your system, is what I'm saying. So if you find yourself constantly having trouble falling asleep, I would start with your caffeine intake for sure. The other part of it is going to be people skipping breakfast. So whenever you wake up, you're ready to get your caffeine fix. You have your energy drink before eating or drinking anything. The caffeine, the drink itself can decrease your overall appetite, and so you may be more likely to skip breakfast, which then could, of course, cause a myriad of different effects. Nothing like crazy or anything, but it could cause you to overeat at lunch, for example. It could cause you to have some blood glucose levels dips and increases, right? Because you don't have food in your system and you're just running off caffeine. You might find that your anxiety and things are really high. It's funny, people are so like they're so baffled that they wake up, they don't eat anything, they consume a crazy amount of caffeine, and then they're just in this reactive, jittery, anxious state all morning long, and they think they need to like meditate or something, or they need to figure out some other big life epiphany, when in reality they should probably just eat a balanced breakfast that is going to stabilize their blood sugar levels and also maybe dilute some of the effects of the caffeine. You can still have the caffeine, but also eat some food, you crazy animal. And lastly, mixing energy drinks with alcohol is definitely a bad idea. Have I definitely done it in the past? Of course I have. Am I very aware to probably not do that? If I do, it's very, very rare, and it would just be like a random Red Bull and a shot or something like that, and I guess I don't have to justify to you guys. I'm justifying to myself, rambling. Anyway, mixing energy drinks with alcohol is bad because the alcohol is a depressant and the energy drink is obviously a stimulant. And so whenever you mix these two together, you're basically masking the amount of drunkenness that you actually are, right? Because you have the energy drink, the stimulatory effect that is making you seem more alert than you actually are. So you may be more likely to over drink and over consume alcohol because of this perceived state that you aren't actually in, right? So that's something to be careful of. And the next part, who's at risk? I'll go through this quickly because I don't think that too many people are worrying about this here, but pregnant women, obviously. And second would be children and adolescents. That's definitely something that all this is stated on the back of every can of these energy drinks. So that should be a no-brainer. And the next is going to be people who are overweight with high blood pressure, heart problems, etc. Just basically unhealthy people in general. There's just, especially in terms of blood pressure and heart problems, or a history of heart problems, or a genetic lineage of heart problems and things, that's where you definitely need to be careful with your consumption of energy drinks because of the caffeine, right? And then now, are there benefits to drinking energy drinks? besides functioning mornings for myself. And that's just strictly from the caffeine itself. It's not necessarily from an energy drink. However, I usually choose an energy drink as my form of morning stimulatory celebration. I don't know where that came from, but the benefits, in addition to fighting fatigue, energy drinks can boost cognition and exercise performance like we do to the sugars and the caffeine. Again, you guys probably aren't drinking the full sugared energy drinks, so that's where some of the performance effects can come from. And then, of course, certain amounts of caffeine, although this is tricky because some of the studies are on as far as the performance effects come from people who are pretty sensitive to caffeine, and they're also consuming quite a bit of caffeine to see those same benefits. So yes, I think that there are probably some benefits, but if you're trying to look for a performance boost, I would probably look more towards a intelligently designed pre-workout, right? Because there's better ways of a pre-workout than an energy drink. Energy drink, for the most part, the only thing you're going to get out of it is the caffeine, and if that's the case, just take caffeine pills. You'll probably have a better, a better experience, and then two, it'll be much cheaper on your wallet. And lastly, are they bad for you? So they definitely can be. I think that that's what I do want to state here. Energy drinks can definitely be bad for you, but with most things, I think the dose is what makes the poison. If you consume one energy drink a day, one low sugar or 0 calorie energy drink per day, I think, from my professional opinion as a registered dietitian, I think the majority of healthy individuals that do that will be okay. I don't think it's anything to super stress about, unless you are also, like I said earlier, consuming a bunch of coffee, consuming a bunch of other stimulants, taking some pre-workout, having lots of diet soda, right? Because then just the caffeine in general can add up and have some adverse effects. However, but as far as the dose making the poison, besides caffeine, it's also going to be the sugar, which can tend to lead to overeating. And then people will worry about the artificial sweeteners as well. And again, the research just does not align with having a couple diet sodas a day or having one energy drink a day with any type of adverse effects, because the dose makes the poison. Any type of adverse effects that come from artificial sweeteners are in high doses of those artificial sweeteners. So probably don't drink like a 2 liter of Diet Coke a day, and you'll be all right. So are they bad for you? They can be, but they can also be fine in moderation as long as you consider all the aforementioned things. All right, and that is it. If you liked the episode, please like, subscribe, all that other shit. Leave a review. I really appreciate you. If you like and review and rate, it really does just help. It helps me, and it also helps you, and it helps us. Right? It's a win-win-win. It allows me to get the podcast out there to more people. We can build this community together, and we can just take over the world. That's what I'm getting at here. So yeah, please do that. If you have a question for me to answer with one of these minisodes, click the link in the description. And yeah, that's everything. All right, guys. Thank you guys as always for listening and for watching. See ya.